And welcome to the 10th edition of the Humpday Bogart special, and today I am talking about the title track of the album and the 5th song, which is called Bogart's Eyes, obviously. And this one is inspired by the film Dark Passage, which was created in 1947, and it was the third film that Bogie and Betty made. It's a great film, quite frankly. It's quite unusual in that it was, you don't see Bogie until like I don't know, halfway through, like halfway through, and the first part of it is him, but he's in first person perspective, so all he sees is his hands. Sorry, I've still got that in my hand. Sees his hands, and then like talking to Lauren Bacall, and which is really clever. Because supposedly he's meant to have a different face, and he's escaped from prison because he'd been wrongly convicted of his wife's murder, and he escapes because he knows it's not going to end well, and eventually Lauren Bacall's character accidentally finds him, or kind of on purpose, and she rescues him, takes him home, and then he goes off again, and basically at some point he ends up it's then Bogie in bandages, so you still don't properly see him. His head all bandages up because he's getting his face changed. And then the other third half of the film, you do see his face, but it's very clever, and I know we're still quite a few years up later now, but for me that was still pretty an exciting way of viewing a film. But it's a great film in that it really centres around loneliness. There's quite a few hints of it, either between Bogie's character, Lauren Bacall's character, especially because he asked her when they're having dinner, he's like, "Don't you get lonely here all by yourself?" I've got my little notebook again, and she said, "I was born lonely, I guess." And I feel like Lauren Bacall might have kind of taken inspiration on the name of her autobiography, because it's All By Myself and Then Some. That's the second edition, and it feels like it kind of alludes to that, or in my head anyway. And there's a really clever little bit towards the end when he's kind of still almost escaped, and there's a woman with two children and a man, and they're both kind of sat separately in a bus station, and they kind of start talking about loneliness, and so they both realise they're lonely, so they both get together on the bus, and Bogey sat behind them. I suppose it's kind of meant to be that kind of mirroring thing, and I suppose I realised this morning most of the characters are quite lonely, really. Like Agnes Moorehead does play an amazing character. I mean, she's downright evil, but she does it really well. And I suppose her character's quite lonely, really, because I won't. Well, I suppose it's been out a while. It doesn't matter if I do spoilers. But she kind of gave a false testimony against Bogey's character because she loved him, but he chose his wife over her. So she did that out of spite, which isn't a very nice thing to do. So there's that film if you really want to go watch that. It's also because it's the third film of Bogie and Betty, and I like how through all four of the films, because obviously their relation gets stronger. Obviously in To Have and Have Not, it's pretty fiery. There's all that kind of sexual tension, but obviously it kind of goes along. But the films, even though they're completely separate films, separate directors, it kind of feels like their relationships still get sweeter and sweeter throughout the four films. By Key Largo, they don't even kiss, but he just strokes her head, but it feels so much closer and more meaningful. And by Dark Passage, it's pretty close, and there's some really lovely bits in it. And I wrote it. One of the first things that stood out to me, which has always stood out to me for Bogie, but this film kind of highlighted it, was his eyes, which are my favourite part about him, because he really does act with them. And obviously, for the third of the film, he really has to act with them because he can't talk. And I really, really hope that while they were filming, Lauren Bacall took the piss out of him while he was stuck in bandages, because if it was me, I would have done, because he wouldn't be able to talk. Lost my train of thought now. I was thinking about that. His eyes. Yeah, so I decided to use that as a kind of title thing, and it was a good way of symbolising all the stuff I ended up writing about in the song. When I watched the film, basically inspiration came, because obviously about loneliness, and one of the days I watched it, and I was at home alone for the weekend by myself because I was working, and my mum had gone off to go and see some friends. My sister was in uni or away, and my dad's always away because he works abroad. And I was by myself, and I'm pretty sure I might have not even had my dogs. I might have had my dogs there, so I was feeling quite lonely. It was one of those moments where you sit and realise, because I'm quite a private person, I don't have too many people that I can call at, midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, just because I'm feeling lonely. And I kind of, especially that film, got me thinking, and I was like, I feel pretty damn lonely right now. And I was thinking about their relationship, really. And the only thing that made me feel better was somehow sitting on the side of my bed, and somehow it's just sat there imagining I was sat next to Lauren Bacall and asking her what it was like to be loved that way, the way that Bogie loves her, on and off screen, especially off screen, because even in pictures you see of them, he's looking at her like he adores her, and he does, and it's so very genuine, and it's just little things, like the way he holds her hand, he looks to her, and just talks to her, and all that kind of thing. So the way I wrote it was I then kind of wrote down the conversation I kind of imagine having, I suppose, from my side of it. So the way I wrote it was how it all came out. Obviously I changed things, but it was kind of my train of thought all the way through. And kind of asking what it's like to be, I've got my own lyrics. What's it like to be the love in Bogart's eyes? And that's a recurring line, rather than a chorus. And I'll admit, it's one of the songs I'm actually most proud of, even so far in what I've written in my career. Because Brian Ferry, who's my musical hero, he mentions once in an interview that when you've hit on a really good song, if there's a few tears in it when you've written it. I'll admit, that song caught me a little bit, and it still did a couple of times afterwards when I was still working on it. And Brian was right, and I'm quite proud of this in a personal kind of way. And I'm very lucky that there's the people that who I've been working with so far have been really nice about all the rest of the album, but they've been very lovely about this one. And it's kind of why I chose it as a single. It's a bit longer than some of my other songs. Most of my songs are long. I'm not very good at writing that 3-minute hit, but it's kind of worth it. It doesn't drag on. But this was the one that's going to have the music video along to it too. Very talented animator, and some of his friends as well, who I'm pretty sure some of them work for Aardman, between me and you, because they said they're working on Chicken Run too, so they're pretty good. But he said he liked it very much, and he likes Dark Passage, so that's what the video is going to be kind of based on. It's stop motion, and I can't wait to see what it looks like. But he's definitely kept it close to the whole Dark Passage film thing. And yeah, so that's going to be one of the singles. There is another one's going to be a single before that. Still making my mind up. I think I've made my decision. But yeah, it's a good song. It's obviously more of a ballady thing, but it's I suppose it's quite sweet, really. I hope you all like it, and yeah. You can see my trains of thought, and I hope it does Bogie and Bacall justice, really, because I hope it reflects their relationship pretty well. So yeah, I will catch you sometime next week. I may drop a little hint at Bogart's eyes if you want to listen to that. Maybe, because a very wonderful drummer, Emily Dolan Davis, who's been working on some of these, did a couple of videos of herself drumming along. So maybe you can have a little sneak peek at Bogart's eyes with her playing, because she's awesome and she's very lovely. So go check her out. So yeah, I'll see you next week. Have a good one. Stay safe. Be kind. All those wonderful things. Go watch Dark Passage. See ya.